Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. So you have mentioned public speaking as one of your hobbies. Where do you get opportunities for public speaking?
So usually I find my audience around me in school. These were my fellow classmates were my target audience. When I was in college, the literary festivals, and while I was working in BHEL, several associations were there which organized events. So I used to speak there.
Okay.
You have mentioned another of your hobbies as listening to Bundelkhandi folk songs. Can you tell me what is the difference between Bundelkhandi folk songs and other folk songs from adjacent parts of UP?
So Bundelkhandi folk songs particularly deal with the local issues. They are a wonderful means to know the sociology of that area. So this I think is one characteristic feature.
But don't you think that is the characteristics of all folk songs? They have themes which are local. They talk of the sorrows and joys of the people in a particular area. They follow the cycle of seasons, uh, whether it is Baramasa or you know Tej or whatever it is, or Kajri or Sawan or Jhule. They are basically they fall into the same category. So what is special about Bundelkhandi music? Bundelkhandi songs? Do they use?
Yes, sir. I agree, sir. Folk music are mostly about their local issues. Bundeli dialect is also one distinguishing feature for Bundelkhandi music. And third,
Can you give me?
apart from other folk music, Bundelkhandi,
Please continue.
so apart from other folk songs, Bundelkhandi music is specifically focused on the underprivileged sections of the society, rural, and then those. While other folk songs have not been able to raise the voice of the underprivileged, there are subcategories in Bundelkhandi music specifically dedicated to the underprivileged sections, like Dhimariyai for the fishermen community.
Can you give me an example? I'm not asking you to sing, but can you give me a couple of lines from this sub-genre within the Bundelkhandi folk songs?
Sir, any example?
Of this subcategory of Bundelkhandi music of a particular community's aspirations or their voice of protest being talked about?
Sir, as I mentioned, Dhimar is a community of
No,
fishermen.
I understood that.
So one song which
Dhi-
says,
Yeah, can you give me a couple of lines of a Dhimari song which illustrates or justifies your statement?
one song is बंसी में फंस गई बाम बरौनी घरे चलो मोड़ा मोड़ी के खुल गए भाग बरौनी घरे चलो. The fisherman is very happy that he has caught a big fish and he sings that today our children will have a good feast. So it shows their mouth to hand living conditions and how they are happy with these little achievements in their lives.
But don't you think that this is common to all folk songs everywhere else as well? I mean, there
yes,
are folk songs of different communities. Like in Uttarakhand, Shoka and Bhutia have different folk songs. The Jonsaris have different folk songs, and they talk of their small joys and struggles and waging their constant conflict with the harsh nature, etc. I will leave it at that. Could you define for me the area called Bundelkhand, which sprawls across states? It is not confined to one.
Bundelkhand covers the
Yes,
the
please.
Bundelkhand covers the area of northwestern Madhya Pradesh, northeastern Madhya Pradesh, and parts of southwestern Uttar Pradesh, Gwalior, Khajuraho, and Sagar, Damoh. These are the major districts. Chhatarpur.
So has there has been a strong demand in UP to carve out Bundelkhand for its special economic problems, aridity, etc. Carve out another province out of Bundelkhand, UP. Break down UP into, like it has been broken into Uttarakhand and rest of UP. There is demand of Harit Pradesh in western UP.
Yes, sir.
So when this happens, what would be your views about this reorganization of states? Because it would involve not only hiving off districts from one state but involve other states. Would other states be willing to part with their territory for the new state?
Sir, the demand for a separate Bundelkhand is much more stronger in Uttar Pradesh because they do not find much of their political aspirations fulfilled as compared to Madhya Pradesh, where we have had chief ministers belonging to Bundelkhand region. Whenever such a decision will be taken, I think it will involve extensive consultations, and it won't be easy for the two states to give up their territories
Thank you.
because aspirations of both the states are also not similar.
Thank you.
Bundelkhand in Madhya Pradesh and Bundelkhand in Uttar Pradesh have differing aspirations.
Thank you. I'll pass you on to my.
So you have told us the different districts of Bundelkhand. Now, taking Bhopal, Vidisha, and these places that you have mentioned, as a public speaker, I want you to promote these for the beautiful tourist, spiritual, natural landscape of these areas. So, as a public speaker, I want you to speak on that.
Ma'am, including Bhopal, Vidisha area.
Yeah, with Bhopal, Vidisha, Raja Bhoj ka Shiv temple, and other things other places that you have mentioned.
Madhya Pradesh, it is a place where the Tropic of Cancer, it has landscape encompassing waterfalls, mountains, hill station, along with it a rocky structure. We have water bodies for adventure tourism, historical sites of modern empire in Vidisha, near Vidisha and Sanchi, to religious tourism in Ujjain and Mahakaleshwar, Ujjain and Omkareshwar. Madhya Pradesh offers a wholesome experience.
So, what is
The
in
Indo
Vidisha?
Islamic
You have
art
not
forms
named the places in Vidisha and Bhopal. You have to give the names of the specific places.
Ma'am, in Bhopal, there is Bhimbetka nearby, which is archaeologically important site. There are Indo-Islamic architecture of Nawabic period, like Gauhar Mahal, and there is an ancient Bhojpur Shiv temple, which is famous. In Vidisha, we have Sanchi Stupa, then Udaygiri caves.
What
nearby
about
of
Bija
Udaygiri.
Mandal in
These are some
Vidisha? What about Bija Mandal, which is so important? It's an ASI protected site.
Please pardon.
Bija Mandal. Okay, continue.
I just heard Mandal.
Bija Mandal. It is also called Bijay Mandal. It is also
Ma'am,
called
I haven't
Charchika
heard.
Devi.
Ma'am, I haven't heard of that.
Okay. Any other? Other places
And
you...
ma'am, there's also there's a Garund pillar in Besnagar in Vidisha, which was placed by Heliodorus. So it is one archaeologically important area.
Surprising you don't know about Bijay Mandal because it has its links right up to the time of Shatrughan, the brother of Ram, dating to different periods. And 1500 statues have been excavated from there and displayed recently, very recently.
I'll read on that, ma'am.
Okay. Bhopal, what is important about the Bhopal lake?
Ma'am, Bhopal Lake, as it is called, Bhoj wetland. It is a Ramsar site, and it is one of the biggest man-made lakes in India. It hosts many migratory birds, and it is surrounded by the Van Vihar National Park. It provides for water needs of the city, and as well as acts as an important tourist place as well.
You did not speak like a public speaker. You were just speaking out something. So as a public speaking person, you have to be a little more authoritative and knowledgeable on how you present your case for a positive inflow of tourists there. Okay?
Jagrati, can you tell me a little bit about your father? He's a professor, is it right?
Yes, sir.
Professor
He's a
of what?
professor of organon of medicine in Government Homeopathic Medical College.
Okay. And between your parents, who has had a greater influence on your applying for the civil service?
My mother, sir.
Why?
She would always tell me that how I'll be able to make a difference in the society with my activities, and how my different skills and interests align more with the services. When I was influenced by such thoughts, I was convinced that such diversified service, which gives me a scope for participating in inclusive development process, it will be a good opportunity for me.
Okay. Now, one of the areas that you've indicated as your interest is organizing events.
Yes, sir.
Now, what are some of the biggest challenges you faced when you try to organize an event in terms of relationship with people? I'm not saying a difficulty in getting electricity, or I'm saying man management. What would be some of the big difficulties you faced when you were organizing events?
So, on the input level, it is important to get people the job that they like. Usually, when interests align with their works allocated, it is better in outcome. Then, to communicate to our audiences properly and to ensure their timely presence at the event, continuous feedback, and any kind of firefighting which happens while the event is
No,
going
my
on.
question was
Like
my question was, what were the difficulties you faced? So you can mention to me
sir,
two
I
or three
personally,
difficulties.
so in my own experience, sir,
Yes.
so one difficulty has been to ensure coordination between the different members of the organizing committee, to get them on the same table and to have their views aligned with each other. And then to influence that the target audience is present on time. Often events get delayed. So these two difficulties I have particularly faced.
Okay. Thank you. So,
It's like this, Jagrati, that you come across as a very pleasant candidate, but somehow or other the passion and energy is missing. It is as if you have prepared certain questions for the civil service interview and you reproduce them, and you are in a hurry to cover all grounds or whatever facts you know and leave it at that. I think there is no personal involvement with any, at least I felt that way, with any answer coming out. And I think when you were asked to address as a public speaker the points of attraction, you failed to respond to the part of the question which said as a public speaker, and it was commented upon by the end when you had concluded that. That's one. That's one thing, and I think the same thing is applying to when you almost without any animation describe the Bhopal Tal or the charms of Bhopal and things of that kind. And the point is that when you say that your mother motivated you to come to civil service, your mother must have had been an influence on your career even before that. So when you opted for engineering, what was she thinking? What was her advice then? Or did she think of the merits of civil service or significance as a right career for her daughter only after you had done your engineering? So I find some of those answers not particularly convincing, if I may say so. Your answer about Bundelkhand was reasonable, which you answered logically, correctly, that states might not be able to unite on this. And I particularly liked your answer that the aspirations of people in Bundelkhand of the Madhya Pradesh part are very different from the aspirations of the people in the Uttar Pradesh, and also the political ambitions and participations of the leaders. So I would leave it at that. When is your interview? When is your interview?
Sir, 10th of September.
All right. So I will request the Honorable Chairperson to help you out with how best to prepare in the time which is remaining to cover various grounds.
Yeah, you were very good, no doubt, Jagrati, but just to improve a bit, there are two things you could do. One, can you hear me?
No, sir. It's the
आप ही
audio
बता
is
दीजिए. You
What we are advising you is to go over your DAF and prepare almost 100 questions, if not more, from your DAF about your interest, about your experience, about your education, so you are not blindsided in a UPSC interview. That's number one. Number two, we would like you to, whatever newspaper you
She
are
can
reading.
hear or not?
whatever newspaper you are reading, you make notes from that newspaper every day, 4 to 5 topics which are covering Indian politics, international politics, current affairs, women's issues, empowerment, etc. Then you try to find answers to these. There are newspapers like Indian Express which give you a special page called Explained. They give you a special page which focuses, and you can make up your mind. What is more important for the interview is to have an opinion of your own. So if you do these two things, don't miss out. Every day 5 topics from a newspaper, if not more, on different topics, editorial opinions, ideas page, in focus, explained. These are the sections in Indian Express. If you are reading Hindu, is good enough. If you are reading Bhaskar, it also has a fairly good translated edit op page. That should be enough for you.
Will you be wearing a sari or salwar suit?
Ma'am, sari.
Okay, that's fine.
Lovely. Do you have any questions?
Yes, ma'am. Sir. Sometimes, as it happened here also, sometimes I tend to miss out on points. I can't comprehend them well. So
No, that is something which nobody else can help you. All my advice would be, listen carefully, think for 5 seconds before answering. Don't try to forget. But if you can't comprehend something, sitting here across on an online interview, one can't tell you how to focus. But the trick is to listen carefully. You can't take notes, but you get a piece of paper and notepad there. So maybe you jot down a keyword, not more than that, and try to think through and then answer.
Ma'am, you asked me to explain it as a public speaker,
Not
Yes,
explain
Bhopal
it,
wetland.
not
So
explain
should I
it,
be
promote. As a public speaker, what you're doing, you're trying to get across your point of view, your knowledge, or whatever your ideas are, right? So that's the way of speaking, public speaking. I'm sure you're a member of WIP, the Women's in Public Sector. There you must be talking.
It should be more energetic and more persuasive.
Yes, persuasive, energetic, animated, modulated. That's right. It should
With
not
some
be-
highlights of
One
the point
try.
and something interesting
take
about
one
the
try,
point,
ma'am?
about something interesting about the place. If you want to promote something, you have to say something interesting about the place, something which is of unique value or.
Can I take a try just to know if I'll be doing it right?
No.
No, I think that is going to be. You can keep rehearsing till the 5th
You stand in
September.
front of the mirror and you say that you're promoting the heritage of your state. And you start talking about the
I
heritage.
mean, can I
See,
get that answer?
No, see, there is the voice breakup. We can't hear you
We
at
can't
length.
hear you. We can't judge you.
We are hearing you in breaks and pieces. So even if you're giving a proper speech, we will not be able to assess it.
Yes, ma'am.
So you practice it like a public speaker.
I'll work on that, ma'am.
Good.
Do it in front of
And
a
I'm
mirror.
wondering, should I keep my hands like?
Keep
and
your
should I
hands
keep my
like this,
or-
like this on your lap, like this on your lap, without fidgeting.
Okay, ma'am.
Don't keep it
are
on
you
your
palm
thighs.
up?
Don't keep it on
Don't
your
palm up.
thighs.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's it.
Don't keep it on your thigh like a Vajrasan. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. And
Welcome.
sorry for the connection problem.
Not at all.
It's
Thank
not
you.
your fault. Good
All
luck.
the best. Do well.
Thank you, ma'am.